2020. We thought there were going to be flying cars.
Ron, I should tell you, most muggles aren't accustomed to seeing a flying car. Right.
Another man on the moon. And all the missions that Malaysia had would come true. But as the saying goes, so yeah, here we are. COVID-19, a virus that is spreading throughout the world, is also putting everything that we ever wanted on hold. Yeah, everything is on pause. People are losing jobs. People are losing their sanities. People are losing their friends and families. And most importantly, people are losing their lives. No one could escape from the torment of COVID-19. Big companies are shutting down, countries in debt, greediness on the loose, fields like oil and industrialization are on the edge of the cliff. And not to forget, educational field. How do teachers who depend on connections, on real human context, teach without such amenities? My name is Nur Fatimah Hartini binti Abdullah, and together with Tengku Mariam Tengku Nazmi, Suraya Khairuddin, Shahmi Hamizan Abdullah, and Muhammad Shazwan Abdul Rashid, present to you the current issues, pandemic stress among teachers and students. Welcome back. So, the beloved government of Malaysia had come up with a brilliant plan to limit human connection, in which MCO stands for Movement Control Order. This has forced tahfiz, schools, tuition centers, universities, public and private, to close until further notice.
Tepat ialah penutupan semua taska, sekolah kerajaan dan swasta, termasuklah sekolah harian, sekolah berasrama penuh, sekolah antarabangsa, pusat tahfiz dan lain-lain institusi pendidikan rendah, menengah dan pra-universiti.
Oh yeah, schools are closed. I'm gonna play games all day long. What? Schools are closed. Oh no! How am I going to study? My question is, which one were you? So, educational sectors were on hold. What do we do, Dato'? What is PDPR? PDPR stands for Pengajaran and Pembelajaran di Rumah. It is a guideline set by the MOE for teachers to follow to conduct their lessons. According to MOE, the only solution for this problem was open and distance learning, which we'll further discuss in the next sections by Tengku Mariam. But what about universities? Most universities have also implemented open and distance learning. Now, referring to the guidelines set by the MOE, it is stated according to the website www.ipromise.com, the recommended hour of screen time for students is tabulated through the following table. However, according to the website YouGov.com, the study to find out on the average screen time of Malaysians on social media usage alone shows that 17% of Malaysians Malaysians spend more than 9 hours online. 9 hours. This study was conducted in April 2019, which was before the pandemic. Now imagine the usage of online platform during the pandemic. When you can't go out, there's nothing much to do. Imagine. This and many other factors that come along with the pandemic had bound to trigger stress. Especially for teachers and students. Teachers are expected to do so many things even before the pandemic. To teach was most importantly. But the challenges of teaching online are not set to be easy. There are many researchers are talking about the challenges of teaching online, and truth to be told, it is never easy. Thus, that is the reason we are here to discuss this issue.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my mother. I need to help her cook. Well, I'll pass the stage to Tengku Mariam, and I'll see you some other time. Bye. Mariam?
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. My name is Tengku Mariam and I will be presenting on what is ODL and the issues faced by teachers. Okay. So first of all, as we all know, ODL stands for Open Distance Learning. It is a way of learning remotely without being in regular face-to-face contact with the instructor in the same classroom. So during MCO, teachers were instructed to switch to open distance learning, which was operated through e-learning. So the idea of ODL during MCO is to promote social distancing. So I'm pretty sure every one of us has experienced this during our practicum. Other related terms for ODL are home study, distance teaching, technology-based or e-learning, mobile learning, open learning, flexible learning, and distributed learning. So there's a number of platforms that teachers can use for ODL. So if you want to conduct a video conference, you can use WebEx, Google Meet or Google Hangout, Skype, and Zoom. And there's many more. So as for me, I only use WhatsApp Messenger as the medium of communication with my students. I find that WhatsApp is the most convenient application for my students and me myself. Other than that, I also use the website Padlet for my students to submit their work, and I will also give my feedbacks for them through Padlet. Next, what are the advantages of ODL to teachers? So as we all know, ODL is very convenient in achieving the need for social distancing. Other than that, it has also many other advantages. So the first advantage is it is more flexible compared to physical class. The next advantage is the teacher can save money on transportation. Okay, the next 2 points are quite similar to each other, which are save time on travel and avoid traffic. At the same time, can avoid stress. So the last advantage that I would like to highlight is the teachers can have more time with their family. So this is another advantage of working from home. You can have more time to spend with your family members, even though when you're working, even though when you're conducting a class, at the same time you can still have your families around you. You can still socialize with your family members. So all these advantages can be achieved in an ideal world, but we're not living in an ideal world. In reality, many teachers are having difficulties and struggling switching to open distance learning. As we know, everyone comes from different households and everyone is living in different environments, so not everyone can benefit from ODL. So there are few issues that I would like to highlight today. So the first issue that I would like to point out is unclear instructions by the government to the teachers. So during MCO, all schools were closed down and the teachers were instructed to teach from home. But there were no clear guidelines and no clear instructions on how's that supposed to take place and how class were supposed to be conducted. The teachers were given a very short notice and they were not prepared for that. So it was a bit chaotic at the beginning. Okay, the second issue is distraction and disruption of family life. So it's true that when you're working from home, you can get very comfortable, but when everyone is at home all at once, especially when you have a family, when you have kids, it's a lot to take in. Like you have to work and at the same time you have to take care of the family. You have to cook for your children. You have to help them with their homework and so on and so forth. So this also happened to teachers where they have to have class with their students and at the same time they have to do house chores and take care of the family. Other than that, the teachers can also get distracted by other things such as gadget and social medias. Like when you're at home, maybe you're not in the usual working environment, so you feel comfortable. You feel too comfortable playing with your phone. You maybe get distracted. So the third issue is communicating with students. Many teachers are having trouble communicating with students during ODL because of due to the nature of ODL, there's lack of face-to-face interaction between the teachers and the students. So the students may have trouble learning and the teachers may have trouble teaching, and there will be less interaction, less feedback, less evaluation from the teachers to the students. So when you're having virtual class and your students are not paying attention or your students are not responding to you, there's not much you can do. Like you have no power to control the interaction between you and your students. Okay, the next point is overworking, because teachers are required to engage in new ways of teaching. So for some teachers, they might not have any problem with it, but for some teachers it may be too much for them because they have to continuously be there for their students. In such circumstances, the students may have put a little too much expectations on the teachers to help them to come to terms in the new styles of teaching and learning. The students maybe expect the teachers to always help them, to always spoon feed them, when the teachers already have a lot on their plates. Like they have to reassess the whole teaching styles and they have to re-engineer the whole teaching process. Another point that I would like to highlight today is staying motivated. So staying motivated can be a problem for teachers because one of the disadvantages of working from home is you will not get the same working atmosphere at home compared to your working place, in this case at school or an actual classroom. So the working atmosphere at home may not be as expected by the teachers, so it can cause them to lose motivation. And like I said earlier, the distraction of family and social media and entertainment can also cause the teachers to lose motivation. So another problem that is faced by the teachers is the increase of electricity and internet bills. So when you're working at school, the school will bear the cost of electricity and the internet for you. But however, it is different when you're working from home, where you have to bear the cost yourself and you have to pay your own bills. And the possibility of the electricity and the internet bills to increase is very high because of the continuous use during our online class. Another issue is the teachers may not have access to reliable telecommunications, computers and technology. So this is something that the students always complain, but we always disregard the fact that some teachers are experiencing it as well. For example, the teachers in the rural area, they may not have a strong internet connection, and for veteran teachers, for example, they may not have enough knowledge in terms of computers and technologies. So all these things can make it difficult for them to run a smooth online class.
Assalamualaikum and hi Doctor and friends. My name is Siti Suraya binti Khairuddin and today I'll be presenting on the issues faced by students. There are a lot of issues or difficulties when it comes to online classes, but today I'm going to focus on the three major issues that include no internet connection, digital divide and also Rumahku Syurgaku. As you all know, not having the access to internet is the biggest issue faced by students with regards to online learning. How can one be able to join an online classroom where internet is unstable or non-existent? This hits those living in rural areas the most. This study, which involves parents and children in Malaysia, revealed that only 1/3 or 36.7% of them do not own a device. How can a student join a classroom if they don't have a device in the first place? No laptops, no tablets, no smartphones, no anything. You see, not everyone is at an advantage to own these devices. When I taught my students during practicum, one of the mothers had to apologize for having her child missed online classes that been held in the morning. This is because only the mother had a handphone. So the mother had to bring the handphone to work and only pass the phone to her daughter during the night. Can you see how serious the problem is right now? As you can see, this issue is not only happening in Malaysia, but to many other countries. Take an example from the US, where device is rarely or never available for online learning. This has raised the concern that 2020 school closure has created a situation where unprivileged or disadvantaged groups are most likely to lose out on the opportunity to keep on learning. First of all, take a look at the picture on your right. And then take a look at the picture on your left. What are your thoughts on them? Can you spot the differences that they had to go through to attend online classrooms? One is sitting on the ground with the laptop sitting on his legs while sharing the only device with his friends. The other kid is sitting on the chair with the laptop on the table while having some space for him to write some notes. This is the best way to define digital divide. The term digital divide is used to define a gap in access to or use of internet devices. If we are looking at the internet penetration in Southeast Asia, only 3 countries have over 80% of the internet penetration. That includes Singapore leading the statistic, followed by Brunei and then Malaysia. People in the city centers enjoy significantly faster internet connection compared to those living in less developed areas. For example, in Kuala Lumpur, people are enjoying a high-speed internet up to 800 megabytes per second. At the same time, people in Sarawak, the speed is much lower, with some areas do not even have the internet connection. When it comes to online courses, it will definitely affect students' access to education, having to put millions of children falling behind in education as class shifts online. Digital divide also happens around the world. The inequality to access the internet affects 52% of women and 42% of men in the world. This is what happens when you don't get enough coverage or the connection to where you are living is quite low. I'm sure you heard of Viviana Mosibin, who climbed the trees to get better internet coverage. She lives in Sapatalang village in the Pitas district of Kudat, and the place where she is living is far away from the city. That is why she had to climb a tree to get better internet connection. The impact of digital gap on home-based learning has also been highlighted on an 11-year-old Maxwell who lives in Pinopok village. The technology gaps also exist within states. with connections usually is more poor in more remote and rural areas, such as where Maxwell is living. For instance, good 4G connection does not disturb your line when there is a heavy rain. This is widely available in Sabahan, capital of Kota Kinabalu, some 90 kilometers far away from where Maxwell is living, right? That's why they had to go to the hills to get better coverage. Sometimes it seems like it's not fair that some had to struggle a lot just to get internet. Last but not least, Rumahku, Syurgaku. When you think of attending classes online in your own home, where your parents are staying, you might feel happy that you are closer to your family, your pets, right? Like that, nothing could go wrong. But that's not the case now. Rumahku, Syurgaku is no longer widely applicable. It is a privilege. This is because some people who stay at home suffer from domestic abuse and also have to do a lot of house chores. These two can affect a lot in the process of learning. Domestic abuse include physical, sexual, emotional or psychological acts of violence that happen by any of the family members. Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, many countries have reported an increase on domestic abuse. Domestic abuse increases whenever families spend more time together. Now quarantine or movement restricted order further serve to isolate many of people who are trapped in their home with their abuses away from friends and other supports. There are a lot of people who are suffering from domestic abuse at home and they are in pain. Tell me, can you read these screenshots without feeling heartbroken from them? Like you want to do something that can help them? This is why domestic abuse is very important and crucial in this case. House chores. It is an excessive burden to both students and also teachers. Sometimes they are expected to do a lot of house chores instead of attending their online classes. During my practicum, I had students missing from attending my classes because they had to do house chores. It's sad, isn't it, hearing this stuff? It's easy for some to say like, oh, it's just house chores. I'm sure your family would understand. It doesn't work to everyone. That is why Rumahku, Syurgaku is a privilege. This is how serious this matter is. This is very important because it does not only affect the learning process, but it also affects the students. Okay? That is why this case is very serious. I have highlighted the three main issues faced by students. I will pass the next presentation to Mizan. Thank you so much. Mizan?
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Shahmiha Mizan bin Abdullah and welcome to my presentation of how language teachers cope during this pandemic. Luckily for us, we are strong human beings and we have to understand that everything that is happening now is for everyone's best, and I pray to the Almighty that everything will be fine after all of this. Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Okay, so this research is based on an article by Peter D. McIntyre, Tammy Gregerson, and Puan Sarah Mercer. The article is titled Language Teachers' Coping Strategies During the COVID-19 Conversion to Online Teaching, Correlations with Stress, Well-being, and Negative Emotions. Okay, the research is basically responses of an international sample of over 600 language teachers who responded to an online survey in April 2020. So if you think you are a language teacher and you did not receive this survey, you have the right to be mad about it. But don't blame me. Okay, find Peter D. McIntyre. Okay, next. So the research uses brief cope scale. So in the brief cope scale, there are a few strategies used in three divisions of class. The scale is made by Charles S. Carver. He is an American psychologist. Okay, next we have three strategies, as I said earlier. Three strategies which are approach strategies. You're approaching the problem. You're not running away from it. You're not detaching yourself by any means possible. Next is avoidance strategies. You're avoiding the problems altogether by some methods we will discuss after this. And neutral strategies, which involves neither the approach strategies or the avoidance strategies. Okay, so we first have a look at approach strategies. First, we have acceptance, and acceptance is basically you accepting the fact that this virus is here and that you and I are trying to learn to live with it. Okay, there's not much you can do. All you can do is to acknowledge the fact, acknowledge the reality that the virus is there. Well, to some you can complain, but since you're a government worker and your gaji still jalan anyway, so why complain? Next, we have emotional support. Emotional support, if I can highlight it. Oh, yep, I can highlight. Emotional support is basically obtaining emotional support and seeking comfort and understanding. Now, emotional support is trying to conform to your emotion. Try to relax your emotion a little bit so that you can face things up front. And now this could range from obtaining it from your very smelly pillow to your very lovely mother. Pick your pick. I personally go with my friends. They are my greatest emotional support thus far. I know you may judge me, but whatever. Next is positive reframing. You're reframing the way you see things into a more positive frame. Okay, you're basically seeing the situation from a different yet a more affirming light. So basically, you know there are these bad things happening in your life, right? But you're seeing it differently. You're seeing it positively. Instead of seeing a virus, you're seeing something like a Barney and Friends thing. You're reframing the virus. You're not seeing the virus as it is. Active coping, concentrating efforts on doing something about the situation and taking action to try to make it better. And then we have instrumental support. Instrumental support is you are obtaining an instrument. Just now it is an emotional support. This is instrumental support. Instrumental here means to seek help and advice. Advice here is what is meant by instruments. Okay, you are trying to call your friends for advice. You know, hey, what do I do with this virus? And then your friends say, I don't know, just kill it. And then you kill it, and then you get the virus, and then you die the next day. Next is planning. You are planning on what to do next. Now this works for me personally. I plan on what to save, what to spend on, what should I do today. So it is basically devising a strategy on what to do. So you think really hard about the next steps that you're about to take, and you are a winner. Okay, next. Give me a moment. I'm very thirsty. Okay, thank you. Next, we have avoidance strategies. Avoidance strategies is basically it is still an approach to the problem, but you're avoiding, detaching your soul, your mind, your body from the problems. Okay, now this is a bad way to go, but it is one way to go nevertheless. Now, first we have behavioral disengagement. You are basically giving up. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. You are basically you are abandoning it. You are not trying to cope with it anymore. Whatever happens to your relatives, to yourself, to your pet, to your whatever, does not matter anymore. Okay, so if you receive the virus, you say lantak pi. Then we have Daniel. Okay, Daniel is my friend, but we have denial. Denial is saying to oneself that this is not real. You are in denial. This applies to certain types of people. I'm not sure if you are in denial right now, but if you are, please be in approval, not denial. Okay, the virus is out there. Okay, don't be in denial. Don't refuse that it did not happen. It is real. Self-distraction, now this might work. I do that sometimes. I play the guitar to distract myself. So you are basically doing activities to take your mind off the actual instance, okay? So you're doing something to think about it less, okay? So self-distraction. And then we have self-blaming. Oh, this is a very bad thing to do. I suggest you do not take this step at all. Okay, self-blaming is bad for anything, even for during the pandemic. You should not self-blame yourself. Okay, so you're basically criticizing yourself, and you're censuring of the things that are happening. Okay, I don't know how this works as a strategist, but it is nevertheless one of the things in the brief cope scale. Okay, now this is very bad. Substance use. This could range from gum kasut to kapo kasut to whatever gum, whatever substance. Don't do it. Okay, it is a way to avoid, but please don't do it. Okay, substance use. How do you even get substance during the pandemic? You don't have money, you're wasting it. Okay, never mind. Okay, substance use, very bad. You're using alcohol, other drugs to feel better. If you are anyway, please don't do it. And then you drive, I'm going to sue you, I'm going to fine you, and then I'm gonna unfriend you. Okay, next we have venting. So if you are a Among Us player and you vent your problems into the vent, don't do that literally, you dumb silly goose. Okay, venting is basically lashing out the curse words to your friends, to your whoever you know, to anyone. You are verbalizing your problems, you are expressing it vocally. This is a bad thing to do. You're hurting somebody, okay? But it is nevertheless an avoidance strategy. Don't do that. Don't call your friends and start cursing at them, okay? And then we have the neutral strategies, which involves humor and religion. I don't think religion is a neutral strategy here. I think religion should go into the approach strategy, because you're approaching the problem through Allah. Okay? Solatlah. Okay? Humor, trying to make fun of the virus. You make fun of the virus and the virus will make fun of you, because you don't take the matter seriously. And then we have religion. Religion involves, just like I said, praying, because praying is a shield to anything, even pandemic. So after all of that blabbering, this is the actual graph that we would like to see. This is the language teachers' frequency ratings of coping strategy used during the COVID-19 pandemic. And as we can see, much like anything else in life, much like everything else in life, accepting is the way to go. Okay, your ex left you accept it. Your cat died, accept it. You lost your money, accept it. You are not rich, you are poor, you are rich, you are not poor, whatever it is, accept it. Okay, it is the best for us. Okay, now second goes into the table is planning. I'm now planning. I think I'll go with planning. I don't like to accept it. I plan it. I plan on, like I said, what to spend. And planning usually is just a plan. As you can see here, it's just planning but not achieving. Okay, planning, you cannot plan. During the pandemic, whatever you plan, you will lose it. You are at home, you are facing Food Panda, you are facing Shopee 10, whatever 10, and you're going to lose it, and then you are not stonk, and then you back with substances. Okay, never mind. Then we're back with accepting. We're back in accepting, and that I think is the best way to go. I hope you like that. Thank you for watching my presentation. Please leave. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon I bid to everyone. So allow me to introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Shazwan bin Abdul Rashid, and this is my first ever pre-recorded presentation for my last semester of degree. So I apologize for any kind of mistake. So previously we have talked about issues regarding coronavirus, and we have also discussed on strategies in overcoming, in handling situations throughout this whole pandemic things. So I'll be continuing on the implications of coronavirus towards the educational settings. So let's dig into the first point, which is the first implication, which is the closing of schools. Closing of schools have many the closing of school have many implications, especially towards the students. The first implications is the involvement in crimes. Although it might not appear that significant in Malaysia, other countries are suffering from this. For an example, countries like Brazil and Mexico, there is actually a statistical evidence to support that there is a significant increment of crime rates, but however there is no statistical evidence to support such a thing in Malaysia. But we all know that crimes in Malaysia is always that. Yeah, let's not talk about that anyway. The next point would be the loss of interest in learning. Because schools are getting closed, students have to learn virtually. Students have to learn through online platforms. So some students might not have the preference to learn through this way. So resulting to the loss of interest. Other factors might be because of lack of accessibility by the students. What I mean by lack of accessibility is most probably they do not have a proper gadgets, or they do not possess a proper and stable internet connection for them to allow them to learn effectively, which in result causing them to lose interest in learning and eventually cause them to get left behind. I mean, there are students who are fortunate enough and less fortunate enough. The fortunate might, develop over time, but the less fortunate students will get left behind because, first of all, they do not learn. I mean, I face this situation as well. But anyway, this point will lead to another point, which is poor academic performance. I mean, of course, students do not learn virtually. They do not learn from home. They do not actually learn from home. I mean, parents are working from home. Students are not learning from home. I mean, school students mostly. This will result in poor academic performance. That's very clear. When you do not learn by yourself, or you do not actually finish the task given by your teachers, this will eventually cause students to have a poor academic performance. Let's cut this short. But anyway, moving on to the fourth point. Since we all know that schools are the place where students have social interactions with other people. Educational institutions such as school and universities are places for social activity and human interactions. So because of these schools being closed and whatnot, it might deprive students from learning. It might prevent students from socializing with other people. Hence, preventing students from developing their social skills, which is actually very, very, very essential for everyday living. The next point is the increase of domestic violence and abuse, because families are trapped in the same house because of the control movement order. So there is a higher risk for students to be domestically abused by their parents, who especially the problematic parents. So these cases have been talked about every day in, especially in social media. And as you all know, I don't know if as you all inform, Malaysia has this Talian Kasih for students. No, I'm sorry. Malaysia has this Talian Kasih for people to call if they have any problems, and apparently there is 57% of increment in calls since the beginning of MCO, but not all of those calls are because of violence and abuse and whatnot. There are also people because of because they seek for financial supports, because they long for what I'm sorry, household issues and psychiatric problems. All right. So the next implications of these coronavirus things is the burnout among teachers. Okay, we as ex-teachers, no, I mean, we have gone through this as well. We have gone through being teachers, and the very main reason why teachers are having burnout throughout this whole pandemic things is, first, absenteeisms. Students tend to ghost from online classes. They do not attend the online classes. I mean, they might be in the WhatsApp group, they might be in Google Classroom, they might be in the Telegram group, but most of them do not actually participate in the learning processes, which causes teachers to feel like to feel stressed because they are trying to help the students while the students are not giving their cooperation to help the teachers to actually learn. And the lack of participation from students causing teachers to feel powerless. Why powerless? Because if teachers were in class and there are students who do not participate in class, teachers might give a more focus towards that students who do not participate. And because of these coronavirus things, teachers do not have the power, do not have the authority to actually do something about it. Even if they call the parents, even if they send a text messages to the students, they might be ignored. And another causes of burnout among teachers is lack of technological mastery, which is actually will actually disturb the process of teaching and learning, will affect the learning effectiveness. And I mean, teachers have been teaching in schools for how many years, especially the veteran teachers. Teachers have been teaching in school for how many years? Suddenly they have to transit from the physical class into the online class, very sudden, and these might give some problems to teachers, especially the veteran teachers who do not have proficiency in literacy in using technology or computers. And lastly, the last point, the causes of burnout among teachers is because teachers at home, they have to manage professional and domestic responsibilities. I mean, it is we all have to accept the fact that at homes you have to balance between those two. I mean, as a student as well, you have to balance between working on your responsibility as a student, as well as to help your parents at home. Same goes to teachers. Teachers have families. They have to handle their families. They have to cook for their families. They have to do all sort of things, especially if their husbands or wives is not helping. So causing teachers to face difficulty in managing both professional and domestic responsibility, which eventually cause teachers to feel stressed and eventually causing them to burn out because of this. All right. The last point of my presentation for today is struggling parents. What does it mean by struggling parents? Okay, because of these pandemic things, parents especially, they face of, I mean, we all have to accept the reality that people are losing jobs and their pay wage, their salaries are being reduced. Some might totally lose their source of incomes, which eventually leads to financial burden. All these points are actually interrelated. I mean, because of having financial burdens, parents tend to quarrel. Most probably will cause relationship or marriage problems, and eventually result in causing students to feel stress, and transfer all the negativity to their children. I mean, when you are at home, stress and unhappiness displayed by parents could be transferred to you, could be transferred to the children, especially if parents tend to get mad at them, tend to relieve their stress to the students, most probably spank them or keep yelling at them at home. So this, with or without realization, will cause students to some sort of lose motivation to learn, because they know that their families are facing problems, and finally students might go rebel, or not feeling motivated to learn, not having the interest and whatnot. Yeah, so these are some facts that I just want to add in my presentation. Government psychosocial hotlines receive 12,000 calls during pandemic. These are all reality. I mean, that's only the first quarter, the beginning of the MCO, and we have already received 2,000 calls, and out of 12,000 calls, 34% are regarding issues such as financial issues, mental support and whatnot. Yeah, you can further read. I'll attach the link later in the reference. And SOCSO job losses in Malaysia increased by 42% in the first quarter due to COVID-19. I don't know. We are already in the September. I don't know what happened to. I don't know if. I mean, of course, the percentage might increase, although we are actually recovering from this. But we are actually facing a very significant problems, especially in job losses. To conclude everything, I believe although the pandemic has taken a toll on quite a lot of people, not quite a lot of people, but has taken a toll on everybody, I believe we still have to move on and work around the problems. I mean, this pandemic thing has made us realize that there is actually a new educational mode of studying, a more advanced way of learning, which is through open distance learning, which is using online platforms to teach and to learn. And however bad it is, I believe that we all have to agree that we should move on and keep living life despite the new normal, and we have to overcome all the challenges and obstacles using whatever strategies that we have. I mean, we have talked about the approach strategies, we have talked about the avoidance strategies and neutral strategies. Yeah, I believe that we all should stick together. The phrase "kita jaga kita" should always be practiced. Malaysians are very good in these kind of things. We always have each other's back, no matter how many times we have these racial issues and whatnot. And yeah, what doesn't kill you actually make you stronger. although coronavirus actually kills you. I mean, learning through online platform could be very challenging, but yeah, in the end you always have to be patient and get better in doing things. Always go back to God and yeah, all those sort of things that will help you to be better every single day. And with that, I think I've talked too much now already, and I wish everyone to take a very good care of yourself, stay safe at home, practice whatever it is, wash your hands, practice your social distance, and yeah, thank you very much. That's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.